mesdames, bonjour messieurs. Je vais
Good morning, everyone. I'll tell you how I've been able to develop a company, a social company, which has become a subsidiary of La Poste, which is the mail company in France, on the basis of the circular economy principle. And the aim was really to really link up the various circular dimensions of this economy, going from the local to the national level. So, first of all, let me say that it all started by meeting people. I believe that we all know how determining the human contact is. So I started looking at recycling issues, and I started visiting people and looking at what people do in various parts of the world. Now, I have met more specifically with one organization that I thought was very interesting from the perspective of what they do at local level. Zero waste trend developed by hippie students in Berkeley in the US in the 70s, because there was a plan to develop 3 incinerators in their area, and they wanted to demonstrate that they could do differently. So rather than having to fight against the people who were supporting these projects, they started looking at how they could better organize things based on what has been said this morning, i.e. Policies allowing for a maximization of recycling and reusing of things and materials. And this allowed me to actually discover a system that was more adapted to the scale I act at compared to the person who was speaking before me. And I'm talking here about the 4 Ls. The 4 Ls are territorial and local systems based on entrepreneurship, developed around low-tech recycling, low-cost investment, low impact in terms of environmental local impact, and local control. And there was one that was really interesting for me, which was called a resource park, where local authorities actually decide to take a plot of land and install it. So it's a public plot of land, and at the center of this field, they develop buildings for non-profit organizations where the general public will be able to come, for repair shops and recycling shops, and you will see that these are shops, and citizens are attracted to come here to actually bring their own stuff. So it's very rational and logic, and they could actually sort up to 22 types of different waste. And as people came and arrived with raw materials that could be reused, then the local authorities would go to other companies and ask them if they wanted to be involved in this project so that they could actually process new types of products. For example, people could actually come with a small machine for plastic injection that could actually be used in order to manufacture gutters that would be sold to the local authority, and so forth and so on. So I was very much impressed by how dynamic these resource parks were and what dynamics they created around them. For example, there was a McDonald's here that actually came to this resource center to actually bring their own stuff. Also, non-profit organizations, young people coming to help. Universities actually started collecting stuff to actually bring it to the resource center, and also lobbyists who actually would put pressure on Nike to tell them, at least you have to bring 5,000 pairs of shoes in those resource parks. And this actually started a very interesting trend with entrepreneurs, because with these shoes, they actually turned them into carpet tiles, for example, for sports arenas and things like that. So that was the starting point. And at the end of the day, what does it do? It actually creates jobs. And these are, jobs that require workforce, to sort waste and so forth and so on. And in Canada, for example, they recruit people to do that. And I remember going to the meeting of Trois-Rivières here, and I really wanted to start working for them directly. Because the people who were talking about this were not, managers. They were people who were really managing resources. Their job was focused on collecting reusable materials, i.e. Materials that could be recovered and turned into something that they could sell to other industries and so forth and so on. So based on that, together with a friend, or somebody who became a friend actually, Bertrand Mélois, we decided to create Nouvelle Attitude, which is a social integration company. So from scratch, our business plan was based on 3 economic pillars. The first one is a social economy aimed at solidarity. This is our social status. That is to say, our company is here to allow job seekers to find a job, especially when they have been trying to find one for a long time. The second pillar is the financial dimension, that is to say the circular economy, and I'll talk about that in more detail. And the third one is a territorial economy by definition, because of course we are a social economy aimed at solidarity, and we are here to create jobs locally that cannot be relocated. So that was the basis of our approach. So with 100 tons of paper, Nouvelle Attitude can create 1 full-time job, integration job. So that means our business model allows us to generate 300 to 400 euros in sales per ton, and that means that we can actually employ people full-time. So these are the people I work with. We'd like to talk about them because all these people are back on the job now, and are the authorities who are in charge of us, that is to say, in charge of jobs and job creation, they closely monitor what we do, and they monitor our performance every year, and that means that we can know exactly where we stand. So with all the people you can see here who have been employed to become waste sorters, for example, they actually came to Saint-Quentin-en-Yvelines, where Nouvelle Attitude was founded, because of course this is one of the most important tertiary activity area in the Paris area. So we thought it would be an efficient localization for us, an efficient positioning for us. So many of these people actually come from Trappes, and you will see that this is very positive human dynamics that we've been able to create. With 1 ton of paper, we can actually create recycled paper, and Nouvelle Attitude has decided that it would go from the collection of paper in the buildings to sorting and reprocessing and delivering paper to the recycling plants as well. So because we are an integration company, we have maybe a different way of things, but we always wanted to make sure that the material that we would collect and sort would arrive directly at the premises of the people who will use it. So we don't have any brokers or whatever. So we talk directly to the people we supply, and that means that our economic or business model is much better. Okay, we've tried to look at sales as well. 97% of our sales figure is now generated on competitive markets. And we have been able to develop offers. Our smaller customer is a nursery with 2 people, and the biggest is the tower here in La Défense, the business district in Paris. And so I remember my colleague and myself, when we arrived at the foot of that tower, we thought, how are we going to collect all the paper in that tower? And we knew that we had many competitors, so it was a bit frightening. But at the same time, we were successful because, first of all, we were a social company aimed at solidarity, and businesses are now quite sensitive to this dimension because, of course, we render a service, but at the same time, they know that we create jobs on the basis of what they give us. And also, they were interested in us because we didn't know anything about the job. We were not professionals in that area. We had no offices, and this is why we were able to invent something completely different, and whilst taking care of our customer. And we have very much focused on communication around our activity. Of course, we've talked about the challenges we wanted to face. And also a tripartite agreement. We didn't want the wealth generated just to come to us. So we said, you own paper, and we know paper making company who is going to actually buy this paper from you, and we are going to be sorting it, collecting and sorting it for them. So it's a tripartite agreement. So 3 or 4 years ago, we were sitting in this cafe, and we were very happy because we had 400,000 euros of sales after 2 or 3 years. And then we saw this postman here, and we could see his case here, which was full of letters, and he was delivering the letters to a company and then came back to his truck, empty truck, and would go. And we thought, we are so small compared to the great logistics system that has been developed for paper within the post agency. And so we went to the post agency and talked with the general manager, and we realized that, they used to actually deliver mail like this. That is to say that the truck would go full of letters, they would be delivered, and then they came back empty. And so we decided that we would suggest that maybe they could actually collect the paper from the places where they actually deliver it and bring it back to their premises for recycling. So this is the reverse logistics of the last kilometer. This is how we call it. And we also had to look at which equipment we needed to use. So what did we do? Well, we did one mistake one day, because we said to the postman, when you collect paper to be recycled, put it in a blue bin. And people thought that this was really a waste. So we said, no, stop. Put the paper in the same basket as the basket you use to deliver letters. So this is how we've been able to develop a great national network for the transportation of letters. It's 4,000 to 6,000 trucks per day that are being used to deliver our mail within 24 hours at the other end of France. And so what did we do? We decided to actually use the empty trucks, once the mail has been delivered. So this is what we call a cold product. That is to say, it's not as urgent as mail. And so that means that what we do is we collect that paper and then we put them in platforms, logistic platforms that we have here and there, and then we can actually collect it from them to go to to sort them and send them to paper makers. So we have decided to sign a framework agreement with the paper making companies. So there's a national agreement between Nouvelle Attitude, La Poste, and the paper makers in France. So 100% of collected paper will remain in France. So this is one of the bases. And of course, office paper is something that paper makers actually like very much, and they find it difficult to collect it. So we've helped them do that. We also decided that we would have short logistics systems. That is to say, if we collect paper from Rouen, for example, well, then we will actually send it to a paper maker in Rouen. So we try to work as close as to the paper maker. And we've organized ourselves in that way. We have very good traceability because, of course, La Poste has a very good traceability system, so we can reuse that. And we know that when you have a 10-kilo box of paper, where we know exactly where it was collected from, where it was sent for recycling. And also one important thing here is the financial dimension, i.e. the price of our paper that we sell to paper making companies. So we didn't want to end up with a speculative system here because, of course, you have to look at the price of making paper here, which is very much indexed on, stock exchange rates and so forth and so on. And it's very expensive, especially for paper making industries that is not doing very well right now. So we decided that we would actually change the value chain here. We are the new stakeholders, we have new methodologies, and we have new equipment for this too. And so we decided that we wanted to share our benefits in a fair way. So for example, in the Paris area, we only deliver to these 3 paper-making factories around Paris. So Nouvelle Attitude now has become a 100% subsidiary of La Poste to actually develop this system everywhere in France. We used to have just 2 people before, and now we have 600 salespeople who actually are here to sell this service to companies. And also, we have decided to have a system that would involve people working in those offices where we collect from. Of course, our role is we are here to actually prepare the collected paper for paper makers. So we have a full-fledged system here and industry, and we're very, very proud of it. Thank you very much for your attention. I also wanted to say something very important. Because we are a subsidiary of La Poste now, we are still here to make sure that people find a job again. So this new industry should create wealth for La Poste. And here in Le Monde, I can see this article about what we do. And our initiative is part and parcel of a new plan that is called Let's Reinvent Mail. And they are trying to see what postmen could do in the future, what would be the new jobs of postmen. So we are really trying to make sure that we connect together those different dimensions of social economy and environmental economy. And also what La Poste is now going to do is ask for the creation of 100 new jobs for the next per year. Within the next 5 years. So by 5 years from now, we will have created 500 new jobs thanks to this. And this is what I am proud of. And if there were 100 people like me to do this, well, we could actually create 50,000 jobs for that. So, of course, if we're bold enough, we can do it. Thank you for your attention.